Good morning, Dawgpound South campers. This is the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of the Fans for Sports Network. I'm your host, Steve Gill, and I'm back on Sundays. So let's start with what Tony Grossi had to say on Friday. Since then, I've been told by two people that they don't think it's true. And then last night I heard from my main guy, and he says it's not true. The requirements that Harbaugh is going to ask for. Speculation. I had read Thursday somebody, a guy who covers another team, he put out a tweet out with basically the same request, and he said several times in his tweet that this was just his opinion and no one else's. So I don't know what Tony Grossi is doing. He did present it as kind of fact, but let me just tell you, it's not really true. Now, will Harbaugh ask for some authority? Yeah, sure, he might, but we don't know what that authority is. So I wouldn't take what Mr. Grossi has to say to heart. It's just speculation. I know that 850 wants to get rid of Andrew Berry. They created a false narrative around Paul DePodesta, and he moved on to Colorado because the last 4 years he's been working on trying to get the stadium deal through. And then they wanted to get rid of Kevin Stefanski. And the owner said that just came down to wins, basically. So I wouldn't take anything that on these requirements to heart. Okay? Let's just keep an open mind. So they are talking to a bunch of different coaches. I don't think they're going to talk to 40. Just remember, in the past, they have interviewed guys and then hired them for position coaches. Andy Dickinson comes to mind. They were supposed to be interviewing for him for the offensive coordinator, and he ended up being the offensive line coach. All right. Also, the only reason Bubba Ventrone is still here, because this is standard operating procedure. Until the new coach is hired, you don't get rid of anybody. All right. So he's going to stay on until they hire a coach. Now, the big one is the big fish in the pond is Jim Harbaugh. I knew I was going to do that. John Harbaugh. He is going to look at probably 3 to 4 interviews. I have heard that he's already ruled out Miami, so you can forget about Miami. I think it's going to be Cleveland, Nashville, Atlanta, and the Giants. So that's where I am on that. I have also heard that everybody seems to think the slam dunk is the Giants. It's not. He's going to listen to these. And yes, the Browns are part of this interview process. Let's face facts. His agent is the same as Deshaun Watson, and this agent made a ton of money off that contract that Jimmy Haslam guaranteed. So they have an excellent working arrangement with his agent. So that's good. And Andrew Berry always has a good relationship with agents because he does their clients good deeds. Flacco said that he did not want to be a backup, and Cincinnati came along and offered a 5th. So they took him up on it. Zadarius Smith from last year is a perfect example. The Browns knew they weren't going to make the playoffs, and they knew he didn't ask for a trade, but they did him a favor by trading him to a playoff team. That's how this works. That's how these back channel things work. You build a good relationship with the agents, and then you start talking to them at the combine when you do your wink, wink, nudge, nudge type deals, hypotheticals, so they can get in trouble. Let's take a quick break. All right, some other stuff I heard. Like I said, as of last night, Jim Harbaugh and his agent have not said no to the Browns. There's been a lot of talk about McDaniels. I've heard that McDaniels is open to retaining certain and specific coaches that are currently on the staff. By the way, the Browns did background check. As soon as he became available, they immediately did some background work to find out what went wrong in Miami. So that's why all of a sudden you're reading they want to interview him, because they found out what went wrong. Now, he is not going to come to Cleveland to be an offensive coordinator. He could go to another team that's closer to the playoffs and become an offensive coordinator. If he is going to work for the Cleveland Browns, he's going to be the head coach. Also, the Jay Glazer stuff about the Browns want the new coach to keep Jim Schwartz. No, they said they would prefer to keep Jim Schwartz. It's totally up to the new head coach. So they would like to keep Jim Schwartz, but if other opportunities become available, he's going to take it. I can't see anybody wanting to hire him as a head coach due to his age. So you also, if you're trying to think about what type of coach they're going to hire, Andrew Berry pretty much said it in his news conference. If you really, really listen, he wants a leader of men, and he also told everyone to keep an open mind. So if it is a young up and comer, keep an open mind. I mean, there are coaches out there that nobody's ever heard of, position coaches, and they and all of a sudden they're hired. Now, the Matt LaFleur thing in Green Bay is interesting, considering how, I mean, some of the decision making he did in the second half, and especially fourth quarter. I could see why Green Bay might not want to keep him around. But the LaFleur I'm hearing about is his brother, Mike. There are people in the building that really like Mike LaFleur. So that would be someone they would think about. I haven't heard about Chris Shula yet, but I am going to keep an open mind on this. I doubt anybody ever heard of Kevin Stefanski before. Well, they had heard of him because he interviewed the year before when they were thinking, and when Dorsey kept, Freddie Kitchen. By the way, the year before that, when he decided to keep Hugh Jackson, everybody in that building wanted him to hire McDermott. Can you imagine what this team would have looked like? Now, before you say there wasn't any talent on that team, Coach Come Get Some, Greg Williams, went 5-3 after Hugh Jackson was fired. So they did have talent. Could you imagine McDermott with Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, David Njoku, and Jarvis Landry? So I think that would have been kind of successful. So for those of you thinking that Jimmy, and he's totally unpredictable, but let me remind you, he did this once before with Sashi Brown. Sashi Brown had a plan, and then they blew it up, and then Dorsey went out and started giving away draft capital for Tyrod Taylor and Carlos Hyde. I know, Sashi Brown traded for Brock Osweiler, but he got a second-round pick that became Nick Chubb. So I don't think Andrew Berry's going anywhere. I think Jimmy has learned his lesson, blowing things up, completely changing the structure. He does like what he's got in the front office. So I can't see them blowing it up. But then again, it's Jimmy Haslam. You never know. Also, can we stop with the Mike McCormick crap? I mean, yeah, 20 years ago, sure, I would have looked at him, but he is too old. I don't know why the RBS show is pushing him. I don't know why. Mike McCarthy. I said Mike McCormick. Mike McCarthy. I don't get it. I just don't get it. He's past his prime. So I am not going to worry about any of this stuff. We'll see what happens when Harbaugh decides. I'm kind of on the fence. Like I said, I could see him asking for some kind of authority. I can't see him asking to fire Andrew Berry sight unseen or even after he meets with him. I just can't see it. And like I said, the people I talk to don't think it's true about all these requirements. So just remember that. So I know this is quick today. It's a little cold here. It's like 35 degrees, feels like 25. Sun's out, cold as hell. So just remember that going into next week. There might not be names you're familiar with. They are interviewing young up-and-comers. They don't necessarily have to have head coaching experience. They would like to keep Jim Schwartz in some capacity, whether it be head coach or defensive coordinator. And if it's head coach, he knows what direction he wants to go offensively. So let's everybody calm down. The NFL has made this coaching searches. Like I said Thursday night, they would like to have a ton of news in between the Super Bowl and the Combine because, hey, that's good ratings. And good ratings is good money. And that's what the NFL is all about, good money. So that's it for today. Everybody have a great day. This has been the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network, brought to you by Hemisphere Coffee, where they shake the hands of the farmer. So everybody, just thank you for watching, listening, subscribing, and following us here at the Fanatical Elves Network. Everybody have a great day. And as always, we're just Browns fans like you. So everybody, go Browns.